Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, August 29, 2024. As the new academic year fast approaches, the Ministry of Education is assuring that primary and secondary schools will have their textbooks distributed in time for the start of classes. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Dr. Cassin Troop, gave the assurance during a press briefing earlier this week. She explained that many textbooks, which typically have a lifespan of 3 to 5 years, were lost during the COVID-19 pandemic.
We lost a number of our textbooks because our textbooks serve 3 to 5 years within the primary schools. But because of COVID, a number of our students did not return some of those texts. So we had to replenish all of the books for last year. So coming out of that, those books would have a life of 3 to 5 years within our primary schools. So the textbooks are already in our primary schools to support the teaching and learning process.
The ministry is also providing workbooks and other consumables to complement those purchased by parents, particularly at the early primary levels. At the same time, Dr. Troop adds that the ministry has refocused its efforts on high schools.
Since last year, we have refocused on our high schools. We gave the grade 7 and the grade 10 students, those who are moving into their subject programs, we gave textbooks for all those areas in full. And for the others, we gave a 10%. This year, we will be looking at grade 8 and I think grade 9 for their full support, and then the others will get their 10% top-up.
Schools across the island are being urged to bolster their COVID-19 safeguards to ensure a safe learning environment when classes resume. Minister of Education and Youth, Favour Williams, made the call yesterday in light of recent surveillance data indicating a concerning rise in SARS-CoV-2 transmission rates. Speaking at the post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House, Minister Williams emphasized the need for heightened vigilance.
We are asking our principals or school nurses to be particularly vigilant. While there's not a mandate for mask wearing or distancing and so on, we note the Ministry of Health's concern, if I could put it that way, for us to be aware and continue to do those things that we did during COVID.
And as the country remains in the hurricane season, the ministry will be providing disaster preparedness kits to schools throughout the academic year. These will include first aid supplies, flashlights, batteries, and other emergency response tools. In addition, the ministry will be providing psychosocial support to stakeholders in the education system.
Our guidance and counseling unit has partnered with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to provide increased access to guidance counselors to help students, staff, and parents cope with any particular issue related to the hurricane and other difficulty and unfortunate circumstances to which they might have been experiencing.
Scores of persons across St. Catherine have received cash grants under the government's Rebuild Jamaica initiative to restore their homes that were damaged by Hurricane Beryl in July. The beneficiaries were presented with their checks from Minister of Labour and Social Security, Pernell Charles Jr., and other officials. The handover ceremony was held on Tuesday at the Hart College of Construction Services in Portmore. Minister Charles Jr. says the distribution marks a significant milestone in the nation's ongoing recovery efforts and underscores the government's commitment to supporting affected communities.
We're going to be traveling throughout all parishes, ensuring that we can reassure Jamaica that you're going to get the support.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is partnering with the government of the United Kingdom and the World Food Programme to provide critical cash grant assistance to meet the other needs of Jamaicans most affected by Hurricane Beryl. This collaboration was formalized with the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding at the ministry's North Street office on Tuesday. The UK government is committing €160,000 towards cash transfer interventions in Jamaica. This supports the ministry's ongoing efforts to provide immediate financial aid to approximately 2,000 individuals whose lives were severely impacted by the hurricane. Minister Pernell Charles Jr. points out that beyond the infrastructure concerns, there is also the basic need for cash to buy medicine and food.
The cash grants that will be provided to the most vulnerable, those who are disabled, those who are elderly, those who require our support, those single mothers who are alone, who have 4 or 5 children and don't have the support.
Beneficiaries will be notified of their eligibility via SMS from the World Food Programme, with cash assistance to be dispersed by Western Union and their national network of more than 230 outlets.
Assistance will be tailored to the size of a household, with $120 to be provided over 2 months of payments to a household of between 1 and 2 persons, $240 to a household of between 3 and 5 persons, and $340 for households comprised of 6 people or more.
Still on the post-hurricane recovery efforts, the Ministry of Local Government distributed over 10,000 hurricane straps to residents of Rocky Point and nearby communities earlier this week. The straps are provided free to the residents and are to be used for the sole purpose of reconstructing roofs damaged during the storm.
Any roof that you have to put on, using ply and zinc or whatever, those approval process is going to insist that hurricane straps must be used to secure the roof. And one of the areas that will strengthen the local authorities is that there's a new structure of employment coming up, where we will see more building officers being employed by the local authorities that will be able to go out to do proper inspection of approved developments that are taking place, to see to it that the proper method is used.
During the function, Minister Mackenzie announced $20 million would be provided for road repairs in the area and sections of Clarendon Southwestern in weeks to come.
We can't do all of the roads one time, but to at least make it much more comfortable for persons to gain access to the community.
And finally, government has signed on to an international treaty that encourages the provision of limitations and exceptions in domestic copyright legislation to allow access to copyrighted material by those who are blind, visually impaired, or print disabled. Jamaica acceded to the Marrakesh Treaty to facilitate access to published works for persons who are blind, visually impaired, or otherwise print disabled on August 28. Executive Director of the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office, Lily Claire Bellamy, explains that the treaty simplifies the process of converting printed works into accessible formats by authorized persons. This ensures that blind or visually impaired individuals can access information without infringing copyright. Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Aubin Hill, says it will unlock access to a wealth of knowledge and opportunities that were previously out of reach, allowing the sight and hearing impaired communities to play a more active role in Jamaica's productive economic development. Among other things, the provisions made under the Marrakesh Treaty will enable Jamaica to facilitate the creation of accessible format copies of copyrighted works such as books, articles, and educational materials in formats like Braille, audio, and large print. It also allows for promoting the exchange of accessible format copies between countries, thereby reducing duplication of efforts and expanding the available resources for visually impaired individuals. And the treaty ensures that copyright exceptions and limitations do not hinder the creation and distribution of accessible formats. Jamaica is now the 7th Caribbean country to accede to the treaty. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.